All right, it is week number it is week number 26 of reading Raymond Chandler's Red Wind. Every week of the year of 2026, that is going to be 52 times in total. So we're halfway there, 50% of the way through. Yeah. Uh, so here I'm going to struggle to know exactly how to phrase this for a minute. It's starting to wear me down a little bit. You know, it's the parable of the proverb of the water dripping on the stone, washing it away. Uh, it's still a good story. I still recommend it to everyone, but it's becoming a bit of a thing. You know, this was a really good idea for the first 3 months. Those first 3 months, you know, because I had a video coming out every week, and I was talking about stuff and finding new things and going through the business here. The next quarter, the 3 months up till now, it has been a bit of a drag, a little bit. Like I say, the story's still good, and I mean, even today, when I was reading it, just a little bit this morning, finishing it up because this week's reading I had started last night and was finishing it up today. Even then, I was finding details that I don't know exactly how to articulate it now, but I want to think about it and see how it actually interacts with the themes of the story. Some details surrounding Lola Barcelai's pearls and how that might reflect on the different characters, particularly the different men in the story, and how they all relate to Lola Barcelai. So there's still things here to get at and to contemplate, even after 6 months, having read the story 26 times. Now, in that, it feels like maybe I should have seen this in the first 26 times. In the first 25 times that I'd read the story, perhaps I should have seen that and thought about it, maybe, but I don't know, we'll see. It does have this aspect a little bit of almost like being a religious experience, not religious in the emotional, ecstatic sense of the way we use the word religious to describe an experience, but more religious in the habitual aspect of it, and the routine, knowing that this is always going to be coming up and that you will always be doing it, but also in that it is consensual, it is participatory, right? No one has a gun to my head forcing me into this thing. It's just that I said that I was going to do it, and even in that, there's been some contemplation over the past month and a half, really. I'm thinking, like, once I got to 6 months, maybe I could change gears or pump the brakes, like do something here week to week that is Raymond Chandler related without it necessarily being Red Wind. But I'm not sure that I'm going to do that. One, principally, is because one, I just said I was going to do it. I just said I was going to read Red Wind every single week, and it's not that much of a trial, realistically speaking, to keep doing that. So one, I just said I was going to do it, and second to that is my sister knows that I said I was going to do it, and so if I don't, do it, quitting is going to be hanging over my head for the entirety of her life. And if I quit, so long as she is around, she will be reminding me. It will be etched on a gravestone when we're all old and gray that I had quit reading Red Wind. So I think I'm going to have to stick it out till the end of the year at least, for that reason. But anyways, other things to talk about. This Raymond Chandler, a biography by Tom Heine. I finished reading this up a couple weeks ago. I would recommend this too if you've been reading Raymond Chandler work and you just want to know a little bit more about the man himself. Generally, author biographies can be pretty dry reading material. They write exciting things. They don't necessarily live exciting lives. But by all accounts, Raymond Chandler actually was a pretty interesting fellow, very amiable, very likable. Everyone everyone he met seemed to like him a great deal. And even through reading this, I mean, I know it's all possibly a biased source coming from Tom Heine, who is an individual who I would say respects Raymond Chandler a great deal. So the information I'm receiving is probably biased. But even I begin to like Raymond Chandler. He reminds me of a certain amount of my relatives for different reasons. But anyway, 6 months in, and I just want to give a few. Everybody around here knows I love the numbers, so I just got to give a few statistics to sort of put things into perspective of what has actually been accomplished here. But accomplished in quotes. I'm not sure we've actually done anything. So Red Wind is, according to one Word document I have on my computer, which says Red Wind, it is 18,356 words in total. And give or take a few words for that, because the Word document might not be entirely accurate to the story as it's published in this collection here. But that's what we're dealing with. And after 26 weeks, that comes to 477,256 words read in total, which is a great deal, just for anything. In comparison, a few things in comparison. The Chronicles of Narnia, all 7 books, are 345,535 words, which means that's 138%. The total words I've read in reading Red Wind is 138% of the words in Chronicles of Narnia. Don Quixote is 300, I say Don Quixote is this much. English translations vary. But 344,665 words, which is pretty close. There's a rounding error in here somewhere of 138% of Don Quixote. Stephen King's It, 445,134 words. That's 107% of Stephen King's It. The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings combined into one continuing story. 576,000 words. 576,459 words. So 26 weeks of Red Wind gets you 83% of The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. If you just read Lord of the Rings, you've got the whole of it. Herman Melville's Moby Dick, 206,052 words. And all this time I've been reading Red Wind, I could have read Moby Dick 232% of Moby Dick. I could have read it 2 times and then a third time again. Well, 1/3 of a time again. You know what I'm saying. It's a lot. Fahrenheit 451, 46,118 words. I could have read Fahrenheit 451, 451, however you like to say it, 10 times over, and have been reading it again. And I'm only halfway through the year. I should have done this. I should have looked at these numbers last year before I ever set into this thing, because that would have put in perspective just exactly what I was trying to do. I don't say I would have not read Red Wind a lot, but I may have, before everything got rolling, I may have adjusted just how many times I was going to do it. I might have pared that down to, once a month, twice a month, maybe, just in total. Just like pared it down. No, I had to go for once a week, 52 times in total. Because that was the challenge. That was the contest of wills. Whose wills? Nobody else's but mine. Nobody else's but mine. Just the challenge of it, and the challenge of it. There's a race. There's a contest of strength here, which at the end, if I win, nothing changes. If I make it the whole 52 weeks, what will I have gained? Not a lot. Not a lot. There's no crown. There's no medal to be gained. Now, as I said from the beginning, there's information to be gained, right? There's the intellectual pursuit of studying Red Wind as a piece of literature. Now, my abilities in that are limited, just because of having the knowledge of how to study a thing. But I am thinking about it. I'm contemplating it in the aspects of its writing, the components of it, the way it is written, learning about the man himself, reading other things by Rim Channel. I have not solely focused on Red Wind. I've read several of the other short stories in this book. I've got I don't know 3 or 4 of them to finish up of the short stories, and then the novels to get to, which I look forward to. So like there's a more cumulative aspect to all of this in getting to the process. But it may have been too much. It really may have been too much. But we'll see when I get to the end of it. I mean, it is a thing though. Like, my enjoyment of Red Wind, right? It is not as high as it was in those first, let's say, 3 months. At this stage, it's not as high as it was in those first 3 months. But I still like it a lot. I still really enjoy it. Like, I still look, when I read it, when I sit down to read it, I mean, it's a bit of a drag to get over to the desk or the armchair to pick it up. But when I get into it, I'm into it. And I'm reading it. I'm seeing what's going on in the use of language and the way the characters and the circumstances interact to force everything forward. And it's still good. And I can still sit here and appreciate it on its merits, and it's still good. It's not like, the story is not, I'm not so warped that I convince myself that the story is bad because of my relationship to it. You know what I mean? It's still good, and it's still something I would recommend to anyone who wants to read Rim Chandler or crime fiction or anything. Like, it's still quality. You know what I mean? And I can enjoy it and appreciate it for its qualities, even if I have stood a bit too close to the fire. This is it's ludicrous. This is a ludicrous experiment. Sitting down and actually, running it through the calculator with 26 weeks of reading this same story has got me. It's outrageous. The perspective on this, if I should have done this before to put perspective on the whole operation, and it would have was what I'm looking for, ameliorated my approach. This is funny. And I've done this to myself. I have 6 months more to look forward to. Look forward. As this, I have 6 months more work to accomplish here on this story. But it should be I say it should be interesting. I know the story, but yeah, it's it's as I'm going on too far, too long, just saying the same things over again, I think. But yeah, it's an experience. I don't recommend. I recommend doing this for 3 months. Sincerely, this has been worthwhile. Like, just experientially, emotionally, for 3 months worth of time, 12 weeks, 13 weeks, maybe. That's what I recommend to all of you if you want to do something similar. Find a short story that you haven't read, something mostly unfamiliar to you, but that you can have some assurance as to its quality. You know what I mean? Which means you have to rely on the opinions of others to suggest a story for you. But do this, like, take that story, and every Saturday, once a week, however that fits in your schedule, read the story. Do that for 12, 13 weeks. You will, I won't say you will enjoy it. It largely depends on the personality. I'm someone who enjoyed it. But that is a worthwhile experience. Extending that experience out 4 times, for me right now, 2 times, the return on investment begins to wane drastically. Things go downhill drastically after that 4th month of doing this. But for 3 months, choosing something short, you might want to choose something shorter than 18,000 words. But doing something that short repeatedly for many weeks in a row is a rewarding experience. It gives you a better perspective of the work as a whole, as opposed to just reading it once or maybe reading it once and then 6 months, a year later, reading it again. Even the sort of like frequency of the routine gives you a different perspective on the work, on the person who wrote it, on like the different aspects of the story. So there is something beneficial here to get at with what I've done. It's just the volume of this experience. I can't, no, don't do this for 6 months. I'm going to be doing this for the next 6 months just to preserve my sanity for all the years afterwards. You know what I mean? But if there were a way out of it, if there were a way out of it that I could get out of accomplishing something that I said I was going to do, and if I could get out of out from under my sister just bringing this up at every possible opportunity, should I quit, I probably would. I probably would. Anyways, I'm just rambling now. So that's all I got to say about that. I don't know when the next Redwind video will be put up, but I do plan on watching some of the television adaptations of this story. There's been a couple. There's been a couple of radio adaptations. I plan on getting those. I might bring those up, might not. I don't know. I'm going to be reading more Chandler in the future. Might bring that up. I don't know. Anyways, that's all I got to say about that. I'll talk to you later.